Lived alone in grim attire, and lolled before a charcoal fire, which gleamed upon his shaggy locks, and glittered on the sparkling rocks. At night, in rifling search again, he fiercely sallied from his den, and like some savage beast unbound, took what he could the country round, till with rich booty loaded well, he bore the plunder to the cell, and there, amidst the rocky maze, he spent the remnants of his days.
Hi everybody, Matt and Tom back with you. Hope you're okay. What if I was to tell you a story about an exploding outlaw, lost children, mysterious skull, and a labyrinth of caves and tunnels that stretched for miles under the hillside? Today we're revisiting a story we looked at 2 years ago, the rather bonkers tale of Tom Bell's Cave. So today we are in Hardcastle Crags on the outskirts of Hebden Bridge. This woodland is today a National Trust property, and it is not hard to see why. It's now protected forever, and yeah, it brings visitors to Hebden Bridge specifically to go and walk through the woods. I was very lucky. If I turn the camera around, you might just be able to see there. No, there is a chimney just there. That is Old Town. That is where I grew up. I wasn't born there, but I grew up and lived there for quite a long time. And my family were up there, and we would often come down into Hardcastle Crags and walk different paths. My Uncle Garry used to bring me 2 or 3 times a year, and as a child we would talk about and search for Tom Bell's Cave. For the first time we hear about Tom Bell is in the 1840s, and 2 poems are written about him. However, there is suggestions that maybe the legend of Tom Bell was a folklore tale that had been orally told, possibly for centuries before, maybe even as far back as the 9th. But who was Tom Bell? He was said to be an outlaw who lived in a series of caves underneath the hillside of Hardcastle Crags. At night, he would head out to the farms and the houses. He would rob them, steal treasures, but more importantly, he would steal animals and take the animals back to his cave, where he would eat them, pretty much gorging himself on the food that he stole. Often hunted by angry locals and the police, the crafty villain who wore metal armour fooled the authorities by wearing his boots backwards, the footprints leading them in the opposite direction. He was not the dandy highwayman that Adam Ant might sing about, but a violent rogue living rough in the woods. So behind me now is the Hebden Hay Scout Hostels. These were built around the mid to late 1980s. Before that, this was the Cozy Corner Cafe, and there is an item from the cafe which still exists and was rebuilt onto one of the Scout hostels. Let's see if we can find it. So, of all the hostels here, this one, as you might be able to see on the sign, says Tom Bell Hostel. This was the location of the cafe. And if you look up onto the wall there, there is a face looking out onto the hillside. That face is in the same position it was on the cafe as it is now on the hostel. Unsurprisingly, that is said to be the face of Tom Bell himself. And what he's doing is he's looking at the entrance to his cave to see who might be coming to steal his treasure. Right, let's head up off the paths onto the hills and see if Mr. Bell is looking at his cave. So, the only person who knew where Tom Bell's cave was his only friend. He was called Willie the Woodcutter, and he lived in a farm nearby as well with his family. Occasionally, Willie would bring an animal to Tom Bell's cave and they would eat it together. But it had been a while since his last visit, so he got a sheep and brought it to the cave. As he was entering the cave, he was startled by two blackbirds flying out of the cave. Willie was quite startled to see that in their beaks there looked to be pieces of flesh dripping with blood. However, Willie carried on into the cave with the sheep in search of Tom. Deeper and deeper into the cave went Willie, and he was greeted by a most horrific sight. There, lying on the floor, was the body of Tom Bell, his eyes gouged out. What was more repulsive was the fact that his stomach had totally exploded. The trees, the roots from the cave above had come down into the cavern and attached themselves to the body of Tom, and both the roots and Tom's body glowed with a phosphorescent green. Willie screamed and ran from the cave. It was an image that was said to drive him insane, and he was never the same again. Surprisingly, two children that particular day had followed Willie and seen him run from the cave. They too went into the cave, and there they also found Tom Bell. Here, in the depths, is what we think is the most likely option to be Tom Bell's cave.
You've changed your clobber.
Ah, well, only emo kids can explore Tom Bell's cave. So, what is behind you there, Tom, is what we call today Tom Bell's cave. Now, I want you to remember one thing, viewers: this is a folklore / urban legend story. Potentially there was never a Tom Bell, potentially there was never a cave. However, today this is what we class as it, and it is
down there, and we'll head down in a moment. But if you look across to the rocks, just about that rock there, you may be able to see some kind of ring carvings on it. They show up better, I think, when it's a little bit wetter, but yeah, hopefully you can see those. Somebody will obviously put those carvings there at some point. Okay, so all those years of searching with my uncle, we never headed up here near the scout hostel, and we should have, because we would have found this. Now again, whether this is the actual cave, we don't really know. So a lot of it has been sealed up, apparently, over the years to stop people going in. There are big drops, potentially 18-foot drops underneath. But that stone there kind of suggested to me like an entranceway. Let's see what's in here. So, there we go. So this is one side of the cave. You can see we are underground, and if you look, you can see that there are potential caves underneath, which are not really accessible. If you look there, that leads down to another passage, or potentially a cavern. Tom's here.
No rope.
Who's that for? Oh shit. So obviously this is not a cave that goes fully underground. But yeah, that is interesting there, isn't it? But yeah, I think, see if we can see another way down. He's taking his rope, thank God for that. Okay, out of this cave and into another. So what had caused Tom Bell to explode? There are a couple of reasons given. Potentially he'd fallen asleep and rolled into the fire had set fire to him and his stomach had exploded. It's also possible that next to the flame that he had lit down there, and this is quite comical I suppose, potentially because of he was full of all that gorged food, that he farted and exploded from the naked flame. I told you this story was weird. Okay. I wonder how old Tom Bell was supposed to be. I've only gone in that bit and I'm knackered.
Well, they only lived to 30 in them days, didn't they?
True,
so,
true.
Yeah.
Right, and of course, I haven't gorged myself on meat. Yeah, right. There is another way into another cave. Let's see what's there. Okay, so now we have another section of cave, which I think does connect to where we've just been. I'll show you what's down here. Again, I think it reaches a point where it drops down, potentially to other things. I'm quite aware Tom's still got his rope. Let's just see what we can find. Right, let's get dirty. Right, so little tunnel there, goes nowhere, we're heading in here.
Okay, so I'm going to head down there and see how far we get this time. This is where we went last time. The good thing is it is dry, but yeah, obviously if you do come here and want to explore these things, please be careful. But yeah, let's go. Let's see what happens. Farewell, Tom, my old pal.
He's off. He's off to the depths of the earth. No rope, but I've got it here just in case.
Oh, good. Wow. Can you see me or down here?
I can see you,
yeah.
And I can now see. I don't want to drop anything.
So, what we can see is that the cave goes further down there, but what I have also noticed is this is wet. So, let's see how far we go. Whoa.
Just going to back off a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I think that's not a good idea for today. Oh. What do you think?
Well, you know me, I'm a scaredy cat, so I don't know.
As far as I'm going to go today, which is even less than I did last time, but I think safety first.
Wow.
What we didn't possibly show you there, guys, is that is very, very loose, and basically if that goes, all this goes as well. But yeah, sorry we can't go any further down. This is my call to go watch the last video and you can see what's down there. Okay, so yeah, that's a real shame that that's got loose. I don't know if you can see me. There we go.
Bit bigger.
Yeah, there we go. Nice clean work. But yeah, that is not worth the risk of that collapsing on top of me. So sadly that is probably the very last time I'll be in this location. Let's just have an explore and see if we can find any other potential caves. Now, of course, at any other point in time, that as a story of folklore and legend would probably have been enough in its own right to keep Tom Bell's story alive for the future, especially the idea of these cave systems. But it wasn't the end of the story, because at the very end of the 19th century, an explorer was in the caves hunting for the treasure of Tom Bell. Whilst he was in the cave, he could see something in the distance, and when he looked closer, he could see a human skull. Okay, so I'm quite pleased I found early on that cave is prone to collapse, and this is why I said be careful, just check everything before you go down these things. Yeah, that is not safe, so we didn't go any further. Doesn't detract from the story itself though. So it just so happens that that explorer who found the skull owned the estate, which included the cafe down at Hebden Hay, and he announced this skull had been found. This was at the time of the Victorian era, where things like freak shows, for example, were huge. You know, they would suddenly announce, we have found some 8-foot-tall Neanderthal men, or things like that, and they would put them on display. So things that were being found and put on display would bring hundreds and hundreds of people to that area. So it's unsurprising that after the announcement of the skull, that the Victorian people descended on Tom Bell's cave in search of potential hidden treasure. So people were flocking to the caves in search of the treasure. A treasure that probably never existed, as that is not what Tom Bell had been going out hunting for on his nighttime exploits. This is also the time the story changed from him being an outlaw to this more romanticised highwayman. And yeah, people were doing probably what me and Tom are doing now, exploring the rocks, looking for entrances. Now the cave system itself was said to stretch right under the hillside here and would come out at various points. At Mytham, near the church, is one of them. Colden, and yeah, even up to Hathershelf. Interesting, we'll return to the Hathershelf one soon, because the real Tom Bell may well have come from there. But people were getting lost in the caves, children getting lost, etc. It was eventually decided, for safety, that the caves should be sealed. So over the decades, what would have been classed back in that Victorian time as the entrance to the cave has now been lost to time, with it being sealed up, and eventually, yeah, people have forgotten where it was. However, it does match up. From here, the Hebden Scout Hostel is just down there, and it does look up to the cave here, but potentially it was part of that money-making scheme in Victorian times to bring people here, because the skull was taken away and examined. Interestingly, what they found out was that the skull was actually from a potential prehistoric lady. Now, how that had come about, I've absolutely no idea. And bizarrely, in 1953, in Mythamroyd, the skull was there. It was stolen, and it hasn't been seen since. So if you know its whereabouts, comment down below. But that was what was then discarded as being fake. There was never a Tom Bell in this cave, or certainly there was never his skull.
You know, Matt, if you don't believe in it, you won't be able to find it.
I know. I'm disappointed with that cave. There's just that little bit of me thinks, what if we go back to that first cave and I get very, very dirty, just to try and just put the torch down on the camera just to see what's there.
I think it's worth it.
Oh well, you only live once. Or as the kids say, something else.
The Mao.
Let's do it.
Yeah, and then you can do your classic Hasselhoff of Hebden in the river later, can't you?
Let's do it. Back we go.
In the footsteps of Willie.
Right. You coming down? Right. So we're going back into the original cave that we showed you, and we're going to go to that far corner just to see if we can look any further down the cave. Sure. Right, Tom's just found another potential entrance. Let's have a look. Oh wow. Oh, wow.
Do I need to get the rope, Mr. Matthew?
Okay, that is exciting.
No, hang on.
Yeah.
Oh no, you might be right. Yeah, no, that's all right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Have we found it?
Look, there's another.
Where are you?
So I'm here.
Yeah.
But over that way.
Yeah.
There's a big tunnel there.
Right.
You have to sort of stretch yourself out over the rocks to sort of see it. Corner there.
Yeah.
Over there. Can you see it? It goes far.
Oh wow, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how far, but also at the bottom corner there.
Yeah, that drops down.
Goes down.
Yeah.
And there's a drop there.
Wow. There we go. It was worth getting cross and grumpy. We found it.
Yeah.
That's definitely it.
That is, isn't
That's definitely, that is a stand-up kind of a cave that has tunnels.
I would go down if it weren't for this wetness on
Yeah.
the rock.
Yeah. Fab. So there we go. Down into the depths. It's Tom Bell's cave. So knowing that all stories start somewhere, where did the Tom Bell legend start from?
Well, in the 1800s, there was a blacksmith of Rochdale who went and stole all the silver from Rochdale Church, and he went and hid out in a cave in Havershelf near Mythenroyd, and he also hid out there with a load of meats. He managed to preserve a load of meats, and one day in the 1800s, a dog walker was walking by, and his dog ran off into the cave thinking that he'd gone off to chase the rabbit. The dog walker followed him, and old Joseph Bailey, the blacksmith of Rochdale, pulled a gun and shot a blunderbuss at the dog walker. But luckily his powder was wet and the dog walker survived, and he got tried and sent off to Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Fantastic.
and he was a blacksmith. And there is a story of being able to hear the old chain mail of Tom Bell and the hooves of Tom Bell's horse going over the top of Heptonstall and these caves and tunnels underneath, and that probably comes from the fact that Joseph Bailey was a blacksmith.
Yeah. All links in, doesn't it? Joseph Bailey. However, whatever the legend is, however it started, it is possibly the best known folklore tale for Hebden Bridge, and it is bonkers if you really think about what happened, especially with the exploding outlaw of the cave. It's a good story, and yeah, maybe somewhere in the past there was a character of Tom Bell hiding in the caves here, stealing the food. I've been a bit dismissive of it in this video. I'm so sorry.
I think it's IBS.
I think it's my anger at the potential collapsing cave. I wanted to show you more of that. However, yeah, look back on this video here and you'll see that we did go much further in then. You can see what's beyond. And we have other videos from Hardcastle Crags. Just search for these on my channel if you're interested in watching any of them. Like George Michael, I just needed a little faith. We found it. Thank you for persisting. And you saved me from going down that mudslide. Yeah, that's probably the cave. Just come and take a picture and walk away, I think, unless you are properly prepared and you've got other people with you and know what you're doing as a climber.
And got good upper body strength.
Everything else. Not like us.
Not like us.
Those Hull boys. But yeah, that was good fun. Perfect. Tom Bell's cave. Done. See you soon. Bye.